Good morning. From Lagos, Nigeria, this is Morning Rave. Good morning. From Lagos, Nigeria, this is Morning Rave.
Hello, good morning. Welcome this morning. It's your favorite TV show on television, Morning Rave, and we're here we're here for you this morning to bring you all the gist and all the reports, all the news and all the information that you always need. Of course, you can always count on us. Of course, you can join us. We have streaming live on Facebook. Join us this morning. Leave your comments, your conversations, and everything you want, whatever it is that you want us to talk about, and whatever it is that you want to talk about also, we can also talk about it right there on our social media handles. Of course, use the hashtag Morning Rave. Welcome this morning. My name is Cindy Eze, wherever you're watching us from. Ekaro, good morning. This is Lagos, Yoruba land. Okay, so you're welcome. I'm so excited to have in the studio my colleague, Victor Ake, who's going to be co-anchoring with me this morning. Good morning, Victor.
Good morning to you, Cindy. I was thinking you would do the Igbo guest star.
No. I left that one, don't worry. Maybe towards the end, we'll do the Wazobia thing.
No, I'm looking forward to seeing you do that anyway.
Don't worry. I speak Igbo fluently now, come on.
You do. You're trying to defend yourself.
Oh my God.
For you to defend yourself, you're trying to show proof.
I know where I'm from, and I'm very proud of where I'm from.
Yes, Adam Bise. Of course, it's the midweek, and as always, it's important that you remember that you are the best of yourself out there. Make sure that whatever you're doing, do not try to outdo yourself in this time and season. Again, just like the popular parlance, the way we say it in Nigeria, December, not be deadline for success. So as much as possible, take it easy, do what you can do, and of course, take it one day at a time. Looking forward that we're going to have an amazing celebration this season, and of course, looking forward to having an amazing 2025 as well too.
Definitely, always, very optimistic. I think that's the goal. Be optimistic, irrespective of the fact that maybe you're just the number 2 of your 10-point agenda.
At least you're making progress.
Yes, definitely. Something can always happen. All right, so we've been, besieged by a myriad of discussions across, political frontiers, economic, and all the rest, especially this issue on tax reform, the tax reform bill that has killed second reading, in the Senate, and of course, has gone to public hearing, the committee stage, where they've been given 6 weeks to present, they are very thoroughly analyzed, points and all of that, of course, in public hearing inclusive. There's been a lot of controversy with this tax reform bill. Of course, let's just give you heads up. The tax bill, there are actually 4 bills, represented: the Nigeria Tax Bill, the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and the Joint Tax Revenue Bill. Okay, so these are the 4 bills that are incorporated in it, and of course each of them have their varying suggestions and analysis based on Oyedele's committee's reform, based on what they came up with at the end of their diagnosis and their almost 1-year deliberation over the matter. According to them, they consulted widely, including the private sector, including students, including traditional rulers, including the governors, who are even saying that they were not consulted, okay? And there have been a lot of talk concerning, especially the case of VATs, when it comes to derivation, okay? So that is the issue. And the northerners, the northern governors, the northern representatives, especially even in the House, yes, they were so raucous when a particular Senate, the House representative, made a statement, when he said Ekiti, he's backing Ekiti State will back up, the National Assembly Caucus of Ekiti State is backing it up, and of course, they have to tell him to step down the report that he was supposed to present on somebody else's behalf. So it goes to show you how sensitive this bill has become and how widely it has become a national discourse right now in Nigeria. So it's imperative that we get to know the details, the intricacies of this bill and how it affects you and I, and also the concerns that the Northerners are raising. How valid are these concerns? I'm here to discuss this morning with a professional. He's a legal practitioner and is also a public affairs analyst and fellow Institute of Leadership, Coaching and Strategy. He's no other person than Mr. Jide Ologun. Good morning, Mr. Jide. Good to have you once again in the studio.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, so let's cut the chase to the quick. The tax reform bill, what's your take on this bill? The Northerners, they've been agitating against it. Some of their governors, the Borno State governor, some of that, we saw Ali Ndume also speaking against it and all of that. So just let's have a quick rundown of the bill from your perspective. I would like you to break it down because a lot of Nigerians are now getting more aware, thank God for all of these discussions that have been going, on. So let's also have, a more simplified, if you will, if you can indulge us, at least a brief rundown of the 4 bills that are incorporated in the new tax reform bill.
Thank you very much. I will summarize it by the disclosed intention, which is to synchronize the revenue and tax system in the country to give us what we call fiscal federalism, and of course to create a more enabling business environment. And one interesting aspect is that right now there is a move to create the Nigerian Revenue Service that we knock out FRRS and national taxes, royalties, excise duties, import, and all those ones will now be centrally brought in. And of course, to try and tweak the sharing formula of the VAT, and I think that is where the heat is really hot now. And of course, to graduate and gradually release some agencies from benefiting too much from the taxes, like TED funds and some other agencies, and that is also a matter of concern for some stakeholders. And I think above all, the general concern is that, like we say in public relations, with the government walk the talk. You see, you recall, and it's been brought in now, the Petroleum Industry Bill was on for about 20 years before it became the law. And there were promises, it will redefine the upstream, midstream, downstream, and all the streams. And today, you know how much we buy the petroleum products, and the fact that our refineries, even the one that we understand just got revived, has not expressly been so functional in terms of delivering relief to the citizens. So I think these are the areas. And let me say this, I love what is going on because this is real democracy. Democracy started in Athens in Greece, where people came together to say, let's discuss our affairs and let's all have a contribution to how we operate as human beings in a society. And when other communities started embracing democracy, we have come to the point of elective democracy right now. So I love all those who are challenging the proposal, and that is why the president himself has even said, okay, the office of the Ministry of Justice should go and interface with the major stakeholders and see the gray areas, because you don't just embrace it hook, line, and sinker. You only have that if you were to be under a military regime. Nobody will be criticizing any decree that is rolled out. Sure. Yours is to obey. Okay. And I think the interest of your constituency is important. But having said that also, let me highlight the critical position of the National Assembly. If you look at Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it says clearly that the National Assembly shall have powers to make laws for the peace, orderliness, and good government in Nigeria. So, and I think that is what is going on. So it's not really about the ventilation of the stakeholders. At the end of the day, the National Assembly has been empowered to make laws. It's just that even within the National Assembly itself, there are various concerns that are beginning to take some ethnic colorations. And it's part of the beauty of democracy.
All right, we'll come back to talk about those concerns. I mean, that's where, the whole matter is. But let's quickly listen to the author of this tax reform bill, Tayo Oyedele, talk about it just very quickly.
The fiscal system, including taxation, clearly is one major area. And if I want to summarize it, I will say that the fiscal and tax system is like the knee on the neck of our economic prosperity as a people. It's important to state that the primary objective for these reforms is not to generate more revenue, because I see people get that wrong every time. It is to fix the economy in a way that there can be shared prosperity. If your businesses are growing, expanding within and outside the shores of this country, if our individuals are earning income and thriving, then taxes will be a natural consequence of that prosperity. That is really the fundamental objective of the reforms. So we know that the work we were asked to do for our country is such an enormous amount of work, but really very critical and important. If we were going to take all our time, we would have asked for about 4 or 5 years. We knew Nigeria has no luxury of time. We decided we should put in all our efforts to get this done within 1 year. And I can say to you, in that 1 year, we have over 100 members, including more than 40 students across 22 universities in Nigeria. We're represented by people from all the geopolitical zones, government institutions, private sector, trade organizations, and so on and so forth.
All right, that's the author, the man behind this whole thing, of course, himself and his committee, Tayo Oyedele, talking about, the tax reform and what it's supposed to do for the economy. Now, he talked about fixing the economy, and I want to just pick up something from there. Based on this derivation, I want us to go straight there because that is where the whole problem is. Now, the existing formula says that 60%, when it comes to 100%, 60% of VAT, which makes up the major revenue that states, states and federal government, states and local government share. So 60% will go to derivation. 6% will be based on derivation. That's a new formula. 20% will be on population and 20% on equality. So 20% will be shared equally. Now, what we have now as it stands is that 50% is shared equally, 30% is on population, and then 20% is on derivation. Do you think that the concerns of the Northerners, that they will have their shares or they won't have enough money to pay salaries when this becomes law, do you think it's justified?
It's justified on the scale of justice, because what is justice? Concern for what is fair. And in public relations, you talk about perception. So for the Northerners, it's a germane concern for them. And I will explain that.
Okay.
You look at the VAT contributions, for instance. Lagos State contributes the highest and yet gets little from it. Rivers State contributes highly, Oyo State, and in the case of Oyo State, it's about the trading and the productive activities in that region. And let's now go to Borno State, for example, where the governor also complained that the people will be impoverished. Borno State contributes less than 2% to the value added tax and has a huge population. You see, so you throw that into the scale of fairness. But then Kano State is also a high contributor. So the new position is now saying, okay, that's 60 for derivation. What is derivation? I mean, those who really make contributions, let them benefit more. And is this strange in Nigeria? No. You remember the 13% oil derivation that the 9 oil-producing states we have, under which Delta State, as at 2023, it got about 296 billion naira. Edo State got about 37 billion naira. And that is a discussion for another day, because citizens are not even looking in the direction of
other revenues
that come to the state. When our president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whom I respect so much, came to office, he pronounced that subsidy was gone. And what happened? The inflow, the enhanced inflow, got shared amongst the governors and by extension under the joint account system to the local government areas. And have citizens benefited from that windfall? The answer is no. And let me say this. I respect the professionalism of Tayo Oyedele and his team. He's a renowned tax consultant and everything. And these intentions sound great. in theory. But how do we practicalize? And I also monitored. The Arewa think tank came up. I don't know if they still maintain that position. That is a good development for the North because it makes you creative. I've said it. All parts of this country are blessed. I've been everywhere. I've been in Augi, after Arugungu in Sokoto State. I've been in Kaduna, I've been in Arochukwu, I've been in Abia, I've been in Maiduguri, Bauchi, Plateau, everywhere. Every part of this country is blessed. Do you know that the gold deposit in Zamfara can earn that state about $2 billion annually? You see, we have the largest deposit of proven gas in Africa. You see, so these concerns are genuine. So how can leaders now begin to look inwards? And I appreciate the concerns of the northern governors, the northern legislators, the traditional leaders, and we call them opinion leaders also in public relations, about the poverty of their people and the need to really demolish that poverty. And let me also advise, moving away from tax, why is Lagos State now branded as having a hedge ahead? Because of the relative security in Lagos. No state is absolutely secured in Nigeria. Even some of the high and mighty in the north, they live in Lagos on the island. Some local government chairmen may only go to collect their allocation and fly down to Victoria Island or somewhere in Ikoyi and hide until the next allocation because of banditry in their region. And I think this is now a clarion call for states to sit back. I appreciate the fact that you have this Northern Forum of Governors, you have the Southern Forum. You are there to actualize Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, that says clearly that the security and the welfare of the citizens shall be the primary purpose of government. I did a research, and it will amaze you that if you profile the 10 poorest states in Nigeria, you'll be amazed. And don't forget that we are just having a paradigm shift now. At a time, the Southerners were of the mindset that the Northerners were oppressing every other region. And even under former President Muhammadu Buhari, we were still hearing about Fulanis claiming they are marginalized. So this marginalization is because we have not given the economy of the nation its right place of attention. So we all need to sit down. Fine, I agree. There are areas in those bills that should be of concern. We are talking about 397 pages of all the 4 bills put together. So and that's why it's good to also bring on the table. There are about the stages of passing a bill into law. There are about 11 stages, and we are at the point now where after the second reading, it goes to the committee, and you can now have the debate and public hearings and everything before their reports and things like that. So express your concerns. But like I said earlier, it is the business of the National Assembly to make laws, not the business of the governors or traditional rulers or clerics. We should get that clear. So what you can do now is lobby your legislators. And I've said it. We have 109 senators, 360 House of Reps members in the National Assembly. So if they cannot represent their constituencies and argue for their constituencies, then too bad.
Talking about argument, and of course, let's draw on some of the voices from the North. We have Alhaji Musa Sani, who is, of course, a prominent Northern leader, and he recently expressed concerns that taxation cannot be fair if the economic realities of regions like the North are being ignored. And the first question here is, are the economic realities of the North currently being ignored? And secondly, how do the current reforms ensure equitable consideration of regional disparities?
You see, as a public affairs analyst, I thank God for the passion he released on me. And I've consistently studied the trends in this nation for over a decade. And I mean over a decade, sometimes till around 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And I've seen some things that are funny. We are talking about being ignored. Do you know that the food production in Nigeria depends largely on the northern part of the country? Now, let's bring in the role of politics, which is also essential in a human community. But politics has been elevated above governance. And I'll give my instance. We all read how an opinion leader said he will soak the dogs and baboons in blood if he did not win a particular election. We read how a politician came out to confess that they imported thugs into this country to watch elections. I read of former governor Nasir El-Rufai saying he went after the Fulanis to pay them not to carry out reprisal attacks. So we brought bandits now into the country to behead farmers, to distort the economy of the region, and we are complaining. Who should complain? In year 2013, the former president of Nigeria, and you can go to content analysis, said on a radio program that clamp down on Boko Haram was injustice to the north. So if Boko Haram has been allowed to fester and disrupting the economy, what has happened to the textile industries, the groundnut pyramids? Is it true, like the former president said, that only God can man the border of Niger Republic and Katsina or Nigeria? And you can see what has happened now. At the time, this nation spent so much constructing railway line to Maradi in Niger Republic. What is the relationship between Niger Republic and Nigeria now after the president left? So I am speaking to the conscience of leadership.
Yeah.
That be strategic in your engagement. There are two ways to approach the future: by default or by strategy, by securing the future or mortgaging the future. Leave all these ethno consideration. You see, I did a study on Africa. I think the population of Africa, the world, around 16th of November, I recall, I think 2022 or thereabout. 16th of November is my wedding anniversary, so I won't forget. About 8.2 billion, out of which Africa is about 1.5 billion. And do you know God has been so generous to release about 40% of the total resources in the world to Africa? So why are we where we are? And that is why we need, and that's why I like what is going on now.
Exactly.
I'm so excited that some northern leaders now feel threatened. Look inwards.
What's the way forward? What do we do now? Because at this point, there's public hearing. And there was something Taiwo Yedele said. He said initially, because when he was asked to give empirical figures or data as regards the situation of Lagos now and when that will be implemented, what is their revenue is going to be looking like coming from VAT and everything, and he was able to break down. He said he didn't know that it was going to be for the people. He didn't. They didn't plan that they were going to present in such deeply broken down statistics to the people. But as it is now, they were thinking, okay, it was just the leaders that will have to do all those for. But as it is now, it has garnered conversation and everybody is interested and everybody really wants to know what's this all about, even for industries and all of that, which of course we're not focusing on this morning. Our primary focus is the northerners. So what do we do now going forward? What should be the attitude of those in a position of leadership? When I'm saying leadership, I mean those who are governors, those who are assembly members, and those who have a position of leadership, even traditional rulers in these northern states. You've talked about resources that that these northerners have in quantum, and they've also talked about insecurity in their states too as a reason against this bill, that they've not been able to be as active and as productive because of insecurity. So what should they come to? I mean, what should be the issues now to be discussed going forward, And do you believe that this bill is being rushed?
Talking about the rushing, let them decide. But that committee came out to say they've been on it for about 14 months and they've consulted about 80 professional bodies. And that is still being subject to debate. And the consultations should go on, like the National Economic Council advised the government, the presidency. And you talk of the National Executive, the Economic Council is made up of the governors and the vice president. So they should be interested in Nigeria. Let me talk about insecurity. Let us learn. I'm from the southwest and I monitor the country. And I must commend what the Southwest leaders did. When some people came together, Yoruba nation, you saw what they did. They dealt with them, scattered their base and operation. That no, it's not allowed.
6-6 group, yeah.
You see, go to content analysis. I mean, I cannot go online and delete history. Is it correct? And I'm throwing this question open. That even some people in the north who should be seen to be fighting insecurity are benefiting from insecurity. Even till now, there are still arguments and everything. So let's look. You see, an insecure society cannot prosper. That is just it. It's a principle of God. I keep saying it. And in a society of poverty, crises are inevitable.
Yeah. So what's the position of governor? What should be the position of those leaders now towards this bill?
The governor is the first law officer, politically speaking.
Okay.
You want your environment secured, fine. Let me commend Lagos State because, you know, I've been active in this. Do you know the investment of Lagos State in security? You hear of the RRS.
Yeah.
RRS is not a Lagos State police setting. By the grace of God, I'm a chief superintendent of police.
Wow.
It's still the same Nigerian police, Nigerian police. But Lagos is funding it.
Yeah. I think there's even going to be a town hall meeting on security.
Exactly. I mean, I had the privilege under Governor Ambode to review the anti-kidnapping law of Lagos State. And I'm so glad that some of the recommendations were implemented. Those were the days of Bado. And they took Bado and all these things out. So don't make business out of insecurity. It cannot work.
So there's northern governors should look at that.
Exactly. If there are smugglers over there, deal with them. See, I have said it. I love Nigeria. I mean, this country. I love this country. God has blessed this country. So I'm not asking that God should bless Nigeria. God has blessed Nigeria. Otherwise, what were the colonialists looking for in Nigeria?
And still looking for...
Exactly. So the governors should come together. I have said it. Please, if our governors are too busy and prestigious to read, please ask your PA. You can even appoint somebody for that purpose. That please interpret to me Section 14 to Section 18 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended. Let me understand it and let us implement. We were in an argument that the most powerful president in the world is the American president. I disagree. In fact, Americans will tell you not in America, maybe in another part of the world. The most powerful president, the most powerful governors in the world are from Nigeria.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? What has happened to the what do they call this security vote and things like that? So you see, wake up. The reality is here now. There was a time Nigerians from some parts of the country were also shouting, talking about quota system, this one and that. So if the marginalization mentality has gone round now, let's sit down. In year 2014, have you forgotten the confab that took place with billions of naira spent in 2 weeks? And yes, some got there and said some issues are not for discussion. If you don't discuss them now, they will leave you. They will leave you.
There's no time for let's so that we'll have to get into the newspaper review segments.